Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. There's actually a pretty significant story coming out of the Mexican state of Chihuahua that's been about a year in the making and still isn't being covered. And it's pretty much the first volley in the unofficial water wars. Now, the problem is that, okay, so in 1944, America and Mexico signed this treaty that was kind of a water sharing agreement. America agreed to divert some waters from the Colorado River to like the northwestern Mexican states. In exchange, Mexico would agree to divert some more water to the Rio Grande to better fulfill agricultural and like livestock needs along the Rio Grande in places like Texas and New Mexico. And the problem is that now, because of climate change and drought and all these different factors, Mexico has fallen behind on its water payments because part of this deal requires that X amount of liters or gallons of water be sent to America, to the shared water basin. And the problem with this is that now Mexico is in debt. The U.S. Water Commissioner is asking for payment. Mexico has to make this water payment by October 24th. And of course, a lot of farmers in the state of Chihuahua, where like a lot of these dams are that feed water into the Rio Grande, they're not happy because they're saying, hey, look, this is in our country. We need water for ourselves. And so this is when the protests first started back in February of this year. Um, at first, they had actually occupied the dam. I think it was the La Boquilla Dam. And then they had tried to, use it as leverage to protest against state and federal troops to say, look, this is our water. We're not leaving until there's been a change. Well, they initially said, okay, we're going to listen to you. And then they started sending the water anyway to the states. In response, Mexican farmers torched several federal police vehicles. That was in March, I believe. And then the government agreed to put the transfer payments on hold, which of course displeased America. And so there's been greater fighting and greater protests and, of course, now violence. So the next way the protests escalated was when lots of Mexican farmers from the state of Chihuahua actually went and like blockaded roads in the capital using their tractors. And of course, the Mexican government started, trying to appeal to the protesters, at least offering platitudes, but guess what? They didn't really do anything. And so the protests continue to this day, to the point that on September 3rd, Mexican President Luis Manuel Lopez Obrador, or whatever his name is, has said that he's going to actually try and personally appeal to Donald Trump and the Americans to see if something can be done. He's also appealed the water debt decision to the United States. To the United Nations. Now, knowing the United States and Donald Trump, I don't see this going well at all. And the problem is that the Mexican farmers are absolutely right in that it is their water, they should use it first. However, watersheds, especially across borders, are a shared resource. So it's not like America is entirely in the wrong here. Mexico did say that, they would agree to uphold their end of the treaty, which includes releasing X billions or millions of gallons of water into the rest of the watershed. So it's kind of difficult. But again, this brings us to the point that because of all these long droughts, a lot of these dams in the state of Chihuahua are already below capacity. And this is a very desertified and arid region of North America. This is where lots of scientists have said that there are going to be climate and water stresses, highly acute stresses in the decades to come. Well, it's happening right now. Mexicans are having to fight against their own government to water rights in their own country. And that should be ringing alarm bells for anyone who lives in any kind of water stressed region, whether it's in the southwest of the United States and northern Mexico, whether it's in, say, the Middle East, if it's in the Tibetan Plateau, all these water stressed regions with highly concentrated populations and agricultural needs. that operate in a globalized system. This is how the water wars start. This is the first unofficial volley in those water wars, which is part of why the Mexican government has been trying to walk a tightrope between helping its people and also fulfilling treaty obligations to the US. So where do we go from here? Who knows? But from what I'm seeing and hearing, it's not going to get better anytime soon. The protests haven't stopped. It is now September. The protests first started happening in February with the seizure of La Boquilla Dam. This is an issue, but no one's been talking about it. Partly because I know 2020 is a crazy year and no one wants to hear more bad news, but this is water. And this is an issue that affects not just Mexico, but millions of American lives as well. And the fact that no one has really been talking about this is what's bothering me today.